as you're going through the motions of figuring out what your agentic workflow is going to be around deploying agents, whether it's one agent or 50 agents, you're going to need to think about, do I want to deploy regular agents or sandboxed isolated agents? And the industry as a whole is really gearing towards the whole idea of isolated agents, okay? So with isolated agents, you need a backend of sorts, we can call it. We need a system, a platform to run sandboxes. So what you could do is you can combine Kagent and Agent Substrate. So Kagent is the front end. It's the way that you create agents. It's the way that you interact with agents. And then in the back end, it's Agent Substrate. So Agent Substrate is an efficient and effective way to run isolated sandboxed agents on Kubernetes. It has its own API, and then it interacts with the worker nodes within your Kubernetes cluster. So you interact with the Agent Substrate API, and then what it does is it schedules actors, I'll talk about actors in a second, on worker nodes. So we get the best of both worlds. We get an efficient API built for the agentic era, and we have the ability to use Kubernetes for what it's best at, which is clustering resources and orchestrating resources. So within Kagent, what you can do is you can go to create, click new agent, and then we'll just call this test 123. We'll make sure this is in the Kagent namespace just because that's where my model config exists. And then notice here, I can specify that I want to run them in a sandbox, and I have Agent Substrate as a option here, okay? And then give this an example or a description. Just say, hey, this is my test agent. And then I can go down, select my model, and create my agent. Okay. Now, how do I have the ability to use Kagent with Agent Substrate? You can utilize the Substrate fork that's in Kagent for both the CRDs and Substrate itself, so you can set up things like worker pools. And then you have a couple of different options. You can either create your own worker pool manually, or you can use this command just like this to create a worker pool and make sure that everything is set up and configured out of the box. So everything from your default provider to your image repository, and then to all the Substrate pieces that are needed to get it up and running. That way you don't have to do all of this manually, which you can do. It'll just take extra time, of course. Now, once that's all installed, what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to go to Substrate, okay? And then as you can see, I can watch all namespaces or select whatever namespace I want. It auto refreshes every 2 seconds. You can see that I have a worker pool here, templates, and actors, okay? So templates are almost like your golden image of what you want your agent to look like. Worker pools are pods. That's where actors get scheduled. And actors, in this case, are where your agent's running, but it could also be in HTTP API application. It doesn't have to be an agent, but in the world of agentic, it's most likely going to be an agent, of course. So we can see the breakdown of our worker pools, our template, and then our actor. And then from the agent's dashboard, we can see I have the agent that we created here, and I could just say something like hi, just to make sure it's up and operational. All right, and this is working as expected. And we can also manage this programmatically / declaratively as well. So if I ran kubectl get worker pools, for example, we can see we have our worker pool up and operational. If I run kubectl get sandbox agent, namespace kagent, we can see here's our sandbox agent, and then we can also specify the name of it and then say output YAML. And then we can see everything declaratively here. So if we just go back to my docs really quick, just so you can have a look, if I scroll down, I could see my agent, and then you can also deploy the same agent we just deployed in the UI via the Kagent CRDs utilizing the sandbox agent. So that's how you can put Kagent in front of Agent Substrate. That way you have a fully isolated sandbox environment that you can interact with just like any other agent.